The story begins by showing a family consisting of only a mother and her son. They live in a remote area with a house surrounded by snow. One day, a man named Jonas Lund Helgeson visits them, bringing various supplies. Jonas's arrival sometimes brings good situations, and other times it brings bad ones. Like this time, Jonas gives the son a history quiz. If the son answers incorrectly, Jonas does not hesitate to strike the mother. After the quiz is over, the son is asked to go outside, while Jonas and the mother go to the bedroom for a physical ritual. Curious about his mother, the son sneaks back into the house and spies on them through a window. Unfortunately, Jonas catches him. Suddenly, Jonas leaves the house abruptly. Whether it was out of shame, anger, or something else is unclear. It is suspected that the boy is Jonas's son, but it seems that Jonas is reluctant to acknowledge him and leaves after the boy discovers that Jonas is his father. The mother and son then chase after Jonas but fail to catch him and lose track of him. The mother then begins to daydream and shows a regretful expression, and she drives their car onto a frozen lake. The son then pulls the handbrake, stopping the car. He urges his mother to get out of the car, realizing that the ice could break. However, the mother remains silent and doesn't say a word. Slowly, the ice beneath the car cracks, and the vehicle sinks into the lake with the mother still inside. The son can only scream hysterically as he watches his mother leave him forever. The story then shifts to a man named Harry Hole. Harry is a divorced father of one and works as a detective for the Oslo City Police. One day, while at his office, Harry receives a mysterious letter with a sentence he does not understand, and it is certainly not poetic either. At the end of the letter is an artistic, mesmerizing drawing of a snowman. That night, Harry meets his ex-wife, Raquel. Now, Raquel is remarried to a man named Matthias. Harry's purpose in meeting Raquel is to deliver a birthday message to his son, Oleg. The scene then shifts to show a beautiful woman named Birte Becker, who is heading home from work. On her way home, she is followed by an unknown person driving a red car, though the car eventually passes by Birte. Unbeknownst to her, the red car has parked near her home. Birte's arrival is eagerly awaited by her child, who misses her, and her husband, who is about to leave for work. Her husband's name is Philip Becker. Shortly after Philip leaves, Birte and their child, Josephine Becker, go to their respective rooms to sleep. Birte is startled when someone throws a snowball at her bedroom window. When she checks, no one is outside, only a strange snowman facing her window. The scene shifts to the next morning. When Josephine wakes up, she calls for her mother, but there is no response. Josephine then checks her mother's room, only to find that Birte is not in her bed. The scene then shifts to Harry, who is introduced to a new colleague at his office. Her name is Katrina Bratt. That evening, they head home together because Harry claims he doesn't have a car, so he asks Katrina for a ride. At the same time, they receive a report about a missing person who turns out to be Birte Becker, Josephine's mother. They go to Josephine's house to gather information. Katrina interviews the neighbors while Harry questions Josephine herself and asks several questions about her parents. It turns out there is some disharmony in the family, where her parents often argue and are busy with their respective jobs. Meanwhile, Josephine herself, indirectly, gets less attention from her parents. After leaving the house, Katrina and Harry go to their respective homes. Secretly, Harry takes a case file that Katrina is working on. The case is a murder case that has been ongoing for the past 9 years, starting with the murder of a woman named Layla Assen, whose body was found on a snowy mountain, with her left limbs cut into several pieces. A few years later, there were 2 more victims, both also women. All 3 murders share the same modus operandi, where the victims are all women, have children, come from troubled families, and are murdered during snowfall, and the killer makes a snowman near the victim's body. Given these characteristics, Katrina believes that Birte Becker is the next victim, only her body has not yet been found. The scene shifts to Harry, who takes Oleg to a show to spend time together as father and son. In the middle of the show, Harry receives a report of a missing person named Sylvia Otterson. The next morning, Harry and Katrina go to follow up on the missing person report by visiting the residence of the person in question. Upon arriving at the location, they are greeted by a woman. Katrina mentions that she received a report about a missing person named Sylvia Otterson, but the woman standing in front of them is Sylvia Otterson herself. They conclude that the report was a prank and leave the place. After Katrina and Harry leave, Sylvia receives a guest who then drugs her. After that, the mysterious person brutally murders Sylvia. The scene shifts back to Katrina, who immediately receives a report from the office that Sylvia Otterson is missing. At first, Katrina denies it because she just met Sylvia, but the office tells her that the report was just received 2 minutes ago. To confirm the report, Katrina turns her car around and heads back to Sylvia's house. Upon arrival, they meet Sylvia's twin sister, Annie Pedersen. Annie says that Sylvia is her sister, and she hasn't been able to find her. When Harry checks, sure enough, Sylvia Otterson is lying there, lifeless, with her head missing. Following the trail of footprints in the room, Harry eventually finds Sylvia's head, placed as the head of a snowman. Harry then requests permission from his superior to officially form a small team with Katrina, so they can freely work together in solving the serial murders. Based on the medical records Harry found, it turns out that Berta Becker and Sylvia Otterson were both patients of a doctor named Idar Vetlesen. Next, they visit Idar's residence to gather information about his former patients, namely Berta and Sylvia. However, they don't get any information since Idar keeps insisting that he's bound by patient confidentiality. Their conversation with Idar doesn't last long because Harry realizes that Idar won't provide the information they need. They then return to the office, and after Katrina leaves, Harry secretly searches through Katrina's desk drawer and takes a case file she has hidden there. It turns out that Katrina has been keeping some information from Harry, including that Idar Vetlesen had an agreement with Arve Stopp to supply women for Arve. Arve Stopp himself is a businessman who once bought a company called Assen Corp from Fredrik Assen. Fredrik's wife, Layla Assen, was the first victim of this serial murder case. This means Katrina suspects Arve, and Katrina herself is trying to gather information about Arve. To confirm his suspicions, Harry travels to Bergen to meet Fredrik. According to Fredrik, it is true that Arve bought shares in Assen Corp. As for the case involving Layla Assen's murder, it remains unsolved. The case was previously handled by a local detective named Gert Rafto. Unfortunately, just as Rafto was close to identifying the suspect in Layla's case, he was brutally murdered by the killer in his private cabin. However, according to the local police, there were no signs indicating Rafto was murdered. Instead, it was ruled as a suicide. After that, Harry visits the cabin in question. There, Harry discovers that Gert Rafto had a daughter named Katrina, and indeed, the Katrina in question is Katrina Bratt, Harry's partner. This means Katrina became a detective to find her father's killer, who is also behind the serial murders. At the same time, Katrina receives information that Berta Becker's phone has been activated at Idar Vetlesen's residence. She rushes to the location. Upon arrival, Katrina finds Idar dead in his garage in the exact same way her father was. This, of course, triggers Katrina's emotions, as it brings back the traumatic experience of losing her father. And the killer is clearly mocking Katrina. Based on the police investigation and the evidence found, which includes only one set of footprints, the garage door being locked from the inside, and the presence of Berta Becker's body, they conclude that Idar killed Berta and then took his own life, and the case is closed. Unlike her colleagues, Katrina believes that this was not a suicide case, but rather a setup by the real killer to halt the investigation. The only person Katrina suspects at this point is Arve Stopp. But unfortunately, her position as a detective is temporarily suspended due to her reckless and unprofessional actions. Harry shares Katrina's view. He also believes the case isn't over because he's convinced that the real perpetrator is still out there. One night, Katrina attends an event hosted by Arve Stopp, dressed in a striking manner. Her intention is to kill Arve because she believes he is the mastermind behind the serial killings, including the one that took her father's life. Using her charm, Katrina seduces Arve and arranges to meet him in a specific room. She goes to the room first to prepare herself, hiding a weapon under her waistband. However, fate is not on Katrina's side, as it turns out that Arve is not the killer. When Katrina attempts to retrieve her weapon, she is drugged by the true psychopath, who then cuts off one of her fingers. The killer uses Katrina's severed finger to access her digital devices and deletes crucial evidence related to the serial murders that she had been investigating. The next morning, Harry notices Katrina's car parked outside his house. Upon inspection, he finds Katrina inside, unconscious and missing a finger. It is unclear whether she is still alive or has succumbed to her injuries. Harry then goes to the police station to review the data Katrina had gathered, including the information that the killer deleted. From what he sees, Harry decides to visit Philip Becker once more. There, Harry manages to get Philip to confess that he and his wife had once visited a hormone specialist named Matthias Lund Helgeson. This leads Harry to suspect that Matthias, Raquel's new husband, might be the mastermind behind the serial killings. To confirm his suspicion, Harry goes to Matthias's house, and sure enough, he finds various forms accompanied by photos of the targets Matthias had already killed or planned to kill, with Raquel herself being the next target. Upon discovering this, Harry quickly informs his team to track down Matthias and gather information about his background. Matthias turns out to be the boy from the beginning of the film, who witnessed his mother drown after his father refused to acknowledge him as his son. It is revealed that Matthias has taken Raquel and Oleg to his childhood home, and Harry rushes there, knowing that his ex-wife and son are in grave danger. When Harry arrives, he finds Oleg and Raquel tied to chairs, with a device ready to decapitate Raquel at any moment. Seeing this, Harry sits down and puts his gun aside, allowing Matthias to ask him a series of questions. If Harry's answers aren't satisfactory, the device held by Matthias will be activated to harm Raquel. Despite his outward calmness, Harry is not resigned to his fate. He is calculating how to escape the situation. When Matthias is distracted, Harry seizes the opportunity, sacrificing one of his own fingers to disarm the device that was set to harm Raquel. A fight ensues between the two men, and as Matthias realizes that he cannot defeat Harry, he attempts to flee. But Harry is not about to let Matthias go so easily. He chases him to a frozen lake. On the ice, Harry calls out to Matthias, challenging him to face him. As Matthias approaches, he fires a shot at Harry, causing him to fall. As Matthias draws closer, gun in hand, the ice beneath him cracks, and Matthias plunges into the freezing water, meeting his end as he drowns beneath the ice. The film then concludes with Harry alone on the frozen lake, contemplating everything that has happened. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.